رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم فقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التأويل يا رب العالمين. So, continuing on what we have finished last time, we are up to the Najasat, which are the impurities. And we said that in the Najasat, we have 8 types of Najasas. Number 1, we spoke about the pork meat and anything related to pork. This is a Najasa. Number 2 is the human blood, except for the myrtle. The animal blood, except for the aquatic animals. Exception is the myrtled blood, the fish, the liver, the heart, the spleen, whatever is left from blood after slaughtering the animal, blood of insects. All of this is exception from considering as a najasa, so this is not najasa. Liquid blood is najasa, meaning that if a blood has been poured and coming as a liquid, this is considered najasa. Human urine, human vomit, human poop, they are all najasa, except urine of a boy who didn't feed except milk, and animals, urine, vomit, poop, which is not eaten. So the animals which are not being eaten, their meat, the urine, the vomit, the poop are considered najasa. The ones that are eaten, like we are speaking about the sheep, the cow, and so on, there is a difference in opinion. Whether they are najasa or not, we will take the opinion that they are najasa, except the specific case, which is the camel, because the Prophet ﷺ asked us to drink the camel urine and milk for the problems in the stomach, like for example stomach cancer, and stomach cancer and so on.
Obaydah,
Yeah.
to clarify, so basically all the animal
Urine, blood, vomit is
all
najasa.
So what do you mean about that last statement?
Last statement, which is the animals that we eat their meat.
Yes, they are still najasa.
They are still najasa. There is a difference. Some scholars said no, some scholars said yes. But we take the opinion that they are still najasa.
So basically,
all the animals
is najasa except for the urine of the camel.
Yes. Alcohol, as we said, the criteria for considering alcohol as a najasa is the intoxication. So if the alcohol is synthetic, meaning that this is not a najasa because it's not been fermented, it's not for intoxication. It's like the alcohol that is used for the alcohol wipes or the alcohol that is used in the perfumes, all of this is not najasa because this is synthetic alcohol. But the fermented alcohol is the alcohol that is najasa. The pus, but if this is small amount, so if someone has any ulcer, do we call it ulcer, where you open it and you have all of these either white or white mixed with blood, that's all najasa if it is at large amount. But if it is a small dot that's coming out, this is acceptable. But if it is actually a good amount, it's Madhi and wadi, which is the liquid coming out during desire or during carrying heavy things or after urinating, this is all najasa. Dead body of animals, except the aquatic animals, which is coming from the sea. Part of animal or coming from the sea or the river. Part of animal cut during its life, this is najasa. Now, there are specific amounts, yes?
Part of animal cut during its life, as in
like some animals, you cut, for example, their tails while they are alive. Some animals, for example, you have their hand cut while they are alive. This part is najasa. Like, for example, a sheep that had the hand cut while it's alive. That hand is a najasa. But if you slaughter the sheep in the proper way, the whole sheep becomes not najasa. Why? Because it's slaughtered in the right way. But the hand that was cut while it is alive is a najasa.
So anything from that hand, if it gets on your clothes,
you need to wash it. There are some forgiven portions of the najasa, meaning that you don't need to worry about them. So, for solid najasa, they identified 2 grams as the amount forgiven. What do we mean by solid najasa? A najasa that exists in a solid phase. For example, you have some small amount of pork meat that was thrown in an amount of water. This is very tiny, 2 grams. The scholar said this is a small amount. So you don't take the 2 grams, because the 2 grams is coming from the recent understanding of how much is big and how much is small. So that's why they consider the 2 grams as a cutoff for the solid najasa to be considered as reasonable najasa or just forgiven najasa. Less than a hand open for liquid najasa. They say that this is the hand open. So if it is a small amount, a liquid najasa with a small amount, some scholars they say about the size of the coin. So this is acceptable, and you can just not ignore but consider if, and this is we need to identify when we can actually forget about it. So someone after praying his prayer found out that this small amount, a small circle like the 5 cents of maybe some urine after the prayer. So this is considered as a forgiven. But knowing that this happened, okay, that has been forgiven, the person needs to wash and needs to cleanse himself.
Obaydah.
Yes.
5 cents?
The small amount.
Yeah, no, because in Australia you can have 5 cents, you can have 50 cents.
No, 5 cents. I'm saying 5 cents.
I'm just checking that it's 5 cents.
Yeah, it's not 50. 50 is big.
Well, it still fits in your hand.
At the end of the day, the coin that was used previously was one size. They did not used to have lots. That's why the scholars they said the size of the coin, which you can come nowadays to say a bit less than the 10 cents size. It's because the 10 cents it's a bit big, but previously it was a bit less than the 10 cents. You can still pray with the forgiven amount of najasa, but it's going to be makruh. But your prayer is valid. If you discovered, for example, that you had that najasa after you finish the prayer and it's a small size of najasa, then it's going to be makruh, but your prayer is valid and you can continue without repeating the prayer. Okay? Blood of insects. What can't be seen from urine or blood, all of these are forgiven. So you have hit an insect and there is blood, for example, for the mosquito. That blood is forgiven. You don't need to worry much about it. For example, urine that was on your clothes but you did not know about it, that's forgiven. Blood that was on your clothes but you did not, you are not able to see it, that's forgiven. Okay? And we are going to speak in details about that. So these are to tell you that Islam came actually to make life easy. Meaning that if the najasa is a bit small in consideration, then it should be fine to live with that, but not to consider it as big. So that's why they put the criteria how much is small and how much is big. How to clean the najasa? So I discovered that there is najasa, I need to clean it. How to clean it? Number one, the places that we need to clean actually from the najasa are 3 places, which are our clothes, our body, and the place we want to pray. These are the places or the things that need to be clean when we pray. So we need to get rid of the najasa anywhere in these 3. The clean water only can be used for najasa removing. The Prophet ﷺ, when his wife asked him about how to clean her najasa, he said, rub it, then wash it with water. So it's a hadith, authentic hadith, that najasa can be cleaned by washing with water. And at that time only, they used to clean the najasa only with water. And we are going to speak about using the detergents or using the soap or anything else as a supporter. Imam Abu Hanifa was the only one allowed other than water to be used for cleaning, like the detergents, like the detergents that were used at that time for cleaning things. How to clean? Number one, the scholars spoke about the counts, meaning that how many times do I need to wash the thing in order to make sure that it is clean from najasa. Some scholars mention that it needs to be 3 times if it is an obvious najasa. So, why did they say 3 times? Because there is a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ that said, whoever wakes up from his sleep, let not him put his hand in a container before washing it 3 times. And this is an authentic hadith. So that's why they said if the Prophet ﷺ said 3 times, then we will use that for actually cleaning the najasa 3 times before we can consider it as clean. So, if the najasa was not obvious, so they said 3 times. Okay? For obvious najasa, we need to wash until it disappears. So I have some blood, considerable amount of blood on my shirt. I need to wash until what? Until it disappears. Sometimes actually, the blood will not disappear 100%. We will have some darkish brownish color left on the clothes. That's forgiven. So you can live with that. It's not a hard thing. Okay? We can use detergent if we cannot remove the najasa without the detergent. And we know how strong the detergents are to remove the najasa. And we are going to come on the concept of using the dirt or the soil to remove the najasa of the dog. We are going to come to that. If some traces of color or smell are still left after washing, then that should be okay. It should be cleaned until the water coming out is clean. So for example, I have a najasa, a blood on my shirt. I started pouring the water and the water will come out with the traces of blood. So you can see the traces of the blood coming out. So you keep washing it until the water coming out is actually clean. Then that's clean. Okay? So that's the criteria. So either until it disappears, or if there is some still traces but the water coming out after the washing is actually clean, then it is clean. You don't need to continue. Dog or pig najasa, these are the large najasa. These are the biggest najasa that needs more consideration. The Prophet ﷺ said that if someone had his utensil, the dog ate in it, you need to wash it 7 times. The first time in dirt or soil, or the last time in dirt and or soil. That's where the scholars actually stated that you can, even Imam Ahmad, for that you can replace the soil with a soap or a detergent if it is actually fulfilling the same reason why the Prophet ﷺ said that we need to use the soil. Some of the things that I saw, for example, in Malaysia, they have specific soaps that are mixed with soil. So you will buy the soap, which is mixed for soil, and they have specific detergents, actually, for example, dishwashing or cloth washing detergents, only for wherever there is a dog saliva or something, that is actually, you put it contains soil, it contains some ground dirt. So that's sticking literally to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that it needs to be soil. That's respected actually. But Imam Ahmad said from his time that you can replace it with soap if the soap was strong enough, because the dirt was meant to be harsh on the najasa in order to remove it. So you can still use it. So number 1 is the numbers. How many times to wash it? Okay, so again, if there is something, I go with the 3 times. So I wash it 3 times, and by the 3rd time I should see the things coming out clean. And again, washing is not just by, some people mistakenly, what they do is I have some blood, so they will pour the water here, like this. This is not washing. In order, for example, to wash this part from my clothes correctly, I need to take it out like this, and then pour the water on top of it and allow the water to come out. This is washing. So washing is by pouring the water on the place and then allowing it to leave. So that's what is considered washing. What people mistakenly just pour the water on it or just wet it, this is not washing. You are not removing the najasa. Okay? That's clear? All right. Squeezing. You know how when we wash the clothes, before we had the washers and dryers and all of this, the females used to wash and then start squeezing the clothes until they take out all the water or soap or whatever. Squeezing, the scholars, they said, it's one of the parts of cleaning the najasa. So if the thing can absorb the najasa, absorb the liquid, like the clothes, they add water, mix it, soak it with water, and then they squeeze the whole thing. And then they add second time and then squeeze. Add third time and then squeeze. That can be replaced with the washing machine, because the washing machine is doing the same. Soaking water, draining, spinning. Soaking water, draining, spinning. So it's doing the same concept. Okay? If it is obvious, so you will squeeze until the najasa disappears if it is obvious. And with washing 3 times and squeezing if it's not obvious. So you have two situations. Situation number 1, that the najasa is obvious. You can see the najasa on the clothes. So you need to soak it, squeeze it, look at it 3 times. Is it obvious? No, it disappeared. Alas. Okay? Even after 1 time it disappeared. Okay, that's enough. So long as the najasa that you saw before disappeared. If it is not obvious, then until you feel either 3 times or until you feel it's enough now. Definitely, if there was a najasa, it disappeared. Okay? If the object is not absorbing najasa, such as plates, for example, or utensils, then wash until it disappears. So you don't need to stick to 3 times. So the plate, you can just wash it 1 time and it will disappear, obviously. If you can't squeeze, like a big carpet that is filling this area, or a carpet that you can actually carry it outside, just soak it with water and then remove the water. Then soak it again and then remove until you see the najasa disappearing. Because obviously you cannot squeeze the carpet. So you just soak it and then you can use, for example, the not the mop, the wiper or the broom or the sweeper. You can use them in order to remove the water and then soak it again and then remove until you see that the najasa disappeared from the carpet. But as we said, if the carpet is actually permanent carpet, then you don't have any other option than pouring on it and trying to making dry, and that should be enough for that. Number 3 of how to clean najasa is pouring water on the najasa. The considered opinion is the disappearance of the najasa regardless of numbers. So, as we said, for example, carpet, and you can see the najasa, so you pour the water. Still the najasa is there, you pour again. Still, until the najasa disappears, then you can. Or, for example, you are on the tiles outside in the backyard or front yard, or you have, for example, a grass area where there is a najasa, you pour the water. That's until it is disappearing. That's if it's obvious, and most likely disappeared if it is not obvious. So if I say, well, I don't know, the dog came and urinated in your garden, or urinated in an area. So you want to see whether this is clean or not, you just start pouring until you say, okay, most likely now it disappeared, because you are not seeing it. So if you see it until it disappears, if you don't see it until you are saying most likely it disappeared. All scholars agreed if running water was used, then it will be sufficient if the najasa disappeared, even if you don't squeeze. So for example, you have your cloth had some najasa, You have a river or creek, you put it in the river and you are washing it until it disappeared. That's it, that's sufficient. So long as the najasa is removed from the cloth. Dirty soil can be cleaned by pouring water on it, and some scholars said to dig a small hole inside and then pour water so the water comes inside and then goes down. That's how you clean the dirt or the soil. Cleaning the water, and this is a sort of funny argument especially between some of the madhabs. So we know that the threshold, the cutoff of the large amount or small amount of water is what? We said qullatain, 2 qullas. And we said that how much are they?
195 liters.
195 liters. So that's the threshold. So any water that is 195 liters and above should not carry a najasa, meaning that if a najasa comes inside, that water does not become najis unless one of the 3 characteristics changed: smell, color, or taste. Okay? Now, if it is less than that and a small najasa entered in there and you remove that najasa, then that water becomes najis regardless, even if it did not change any of its characteristics. Okay? So that's the criteria of the water. Now, what if a water actually had a najasa? How can I clean it? So the scholars said, if the water above qullatain, 2 qullas, which is 195 liters, and one of the characteristics changed, and you want to clean it. So how can you clean it? They said, we add water until the change of the characteristics disappear. So for example, there was a smell for the water from the najasa. The water is clear, nothing. So we start pouring water, so the size of the water starts increasing until there is no smell. Then that water is clear. And you can use it for washing, wudu, for everything. Okay? If the water is below qullatain and had a najasa, how to clean it? It can be cleaned by adding water until it becomes qullatain. Okay? So long as there is no change in the characteristics. Like for example, I had 150 liters of water and I had a mice that died and boom, inside it. So I woke up and a big pot of water with all of this amount, there is a mice, dead mice there. Dead mouse there. So I pulled the mouse, throw it, looked at the water, no smell, no color change, no taste change, but there is a najasa, it's najis. How can I clean it? I cannot throw it in the bin. It's too much water. I can start putting more water until it becomes 195 liters and it's ready to go, so we can use it.
What about if you can't measure it? If you don't have anything to measure the water, do you just go by assumption? Or?
Go by size. Did you learn math? If you have a big pot, you can just measure the size, time it, and you have the volume. And when you have the volume, you will know how many liters you have.
So,
Yeah.
if you've added it, and then the characteristics that makes it in the najasa disappears, but as you're using it,
No, it will not change.
will not change?
No, that's it. It will not change. So this is how to clean the najasa. Yes, Wahbah.
What if the container is not big enough for 195 liters?
Put it in a 195 liters container and pour the water. So long as you don't lose the water. That's the concept. Because if you have 150 liters of water, that's a big amount. So losing it is not an easy thing. So this is how we clean the najasa. Counts, number of times, squeezing, pouring water until it disappears. Alright? So we want to understand that pouring water on the najasa and wetting it does not clean it. Okay, which is what I see all the time, people trying to wash their clothes, whatever from najasa, just put wetting it. That doesn't clean anything. It needs to come, the water comes on the najasa and leaves. Okay? We have the Ghusalah. This is an Arabic term, refers to the water used to remove hadath or najasa. So, I made wudu. Whatever dripped from me is called Ghusalah. I washed my clothes from najasa. Whatever dripped from there is a Ghusalah. Okay? So what is the ruling of the Ghusalah? Which is the water. Like, we can apply it straight on our washing machines. What is the ruling of the water coming out from the washing machine? Can I use it? Can I reuse it? If I can, how can I decide whether that water is najis or not najis? And what can I use it for? Okay. The ruling, it is clean if the washed area became clean and the used water did not change. So, I am pouring water here and washing it, and this became clean. And I looked at the water that came out, and it's clean. So both are clean. Then this is clean. Okay? But that doesn't mean that we can use it for wudu. Or use it for removing najasa. Okay? But this is clean. Clean, not usable for cleaning. Alright? The water that is leaving the clothes, for example, is a najasa in itself if it changed according to what I washed it with. So I washed blood, and then the water left over from washing is red. So that water is najasa. Okay? And then this one disappeared, everything, that's okay, that's fine. But that one is a najasa that you cannot use. So, knowing the criteria is always until the clothes or whatever I'm cleaning is clean, and then the water is not changing. Nothing from the characteristic changes. Let's look at some current situations with water, actually. We have said that lots of times, for example, the washing machine usage, this is unacceptable in Islam because actually the najasa, we are pouring the water, soaking the clothes, and it's just circulating, and then draining the water. It's exactly what we spoke about, pouring and draining. So that's a way of cleaning the najasa that we are using in the washing machine. The water coming out from the washing machine comes out, how does it look like? It all goes to the drainage system. But if you had to collect it, it's actually coming out with some soap. And if you look at the characteristics, does it carry any of the najasa characteristics? No, not anymore. So actually that water might be used, if it is not harmful, for something like you want to wash your tiles, backyard, or something like this, if the characteristics did not pick the najasa characteristics. But it's a soap that is coming out from the washing machine. That's, for example, one understanding of how to use the coming out from the washing machine. Another, any question for this? For washing the najasa? No. Okay. Now we come to another chapter which is called Istenjaa. Okay? Ibn Abbas reported, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, or he was passing by two graves and he said, both of them are being punished, but not by a major sin. As for this man, he did not prevent his urine from soiling him, and as for this man, he would spread gossip. So the first person that the Prophet ﷺ indicated about, that he was not cleaning himself after finishing urinating. Okay? So that's why in one of the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that the majority of the punishment in grave is coming out from not being able to cleanse ourselves from urine. So that's the majority of the reason behind the grave punishment. So, what is istinja? Istinja is removing the najasa of whatever exited the body, urine or poop or anything, from the front or the back of the body. One can't start wudu until he cleans himself, which is doing istinja. The ruling is that istinja, and I'm going to use the word istinja because everybody now knows what's the meaning of istinja. Istinja is wajib, so it's an obligation to do istinja. And the Prophet, Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned in Surah Al-Muddathir, وَالرُّجْزَ فَهْجُرْ, and uncleanliness avoid. So that's an order from Allah Azza wa Jal that we need to clean ourselves. In regards to istinja from poop, the Prophet ﷺ said, or from even urine, the Prophet ﷺ said, do not clean yourself with less than 3 stones. At that time, the way of cleaning themselves, they used to have stones, so they did not used to have toilet papers. They used to take stones with them to the toilet to cleanse themselves after going to the toilet. We don't need to do istinja for passing wind, or we don't need to do istinja from sleeping. So if someone wakes up, that's it, no need for istinja. Or past wind, no need. There is another word called istibra. Istibra is after urinating, we want to clean the pathway of the urine from any urine drops. So when we leave and have, for example, wudu or walk, these drops don't come out and actually cause najasa for our clothes. This is called istibra. The scholars, they mention that this can be by movements, by coughing, by lots of things that need to be practiced, so the person can actually make sure that no urine is left over in the pathways of the urine of the body, so nothing will come afterwards. Istinja can be with water or stone or any dry clean object that can remove the najasa and is not respected. All of these are conditions. Okay? So can be with what? Water. So the first way of doing istinja from the toilet is by water. The second by a stone, which what was practiced before. The third, any dry, clean. So we cannot take dry, not clean. Any dry, clean object that can remove the najasa. Some objects are dry and clean but cannot remove the najasa. So you need to have an object that is dry and clean and is able to remove the najasa and is not respected. What is respected? Can be anything, like someone owns something. This is respected for him. We cannot use it for removing the najasa. Istinja, sorry. It is better to use water and paper for istinja. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned about the revelation of the verse, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ التَّوَّابِينَ وَيُحِبُّ الْمُتَطَهِّرِينَ. Allah loves those who are repenting and those who clean themselves. And this, when Allah said mutatahhirina, it's a sort of a strong word about cleaning themselves. So the Prophet ﷺ came to the Ansar and said to them, "O Ansar, this has been revealed for you. What are you doing for istinja or cleaning yourselves?" They said, "We use water." So the Prophet ﷺ said, "That's why Allah revealed that verse." So the scholars said that it's better to do the istinja using water and toilet paper at this time. If you are outside, you are in the mountains, you don't have toilet paper, anything, you pick 3-5 stones with you and you go for toilet, and after you finish, you use them for whatever you used to use the toilet paper for. Some people will say, how come it will not work? Well, the whole community was built on this. The whole community was using that before, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ and the companions. It was only recently when we had these papers that we started using them for the toilet. Before that, it's anything in front of you that can actually fulfill the requirement, you can use it. Start with the water. No, sorry, this is a typo. Start with the paper to remove the actual najasa and then finish with the water. So for cleansing the person's self from the poop, we start first with the toilet paper, we clean ourselves, and then we use the water in order to remove any traces of the najasa. If you were to use, what should I use? If I have to use only toilet paper or only water, what should I use? Better to use the water. If the only media that you have, for example, you entered on a toilet and you don't have toilet paper, you only have water, that's sufficient. Because water can remove the actual najasa and the traces of najasa. Toilet paper can remove only the actual najasa, cannot remove the traces of najasa. So that's why bringing both of them is better. Conditions to use dry objects. So if I want to use a dry object for istinja, what are the conditions? Number one, that the najasa is not dry. Otherwise, it will require water. So, if the najasa was not dry, no, it's the other way around. If the najasa is dry, then we can use the objects, like the toilet paper alone. But if the najasa was wet, then we have to use the water. Because when it's wet, it spreads. Okay, that's another type. Number two, najasa does not spread from the exit. Like someone has diarrhea and the najasa, when he went to the toilet, actually spread. You cannot use the toilet paper alone. You have to use the water. Number three, does not mix with external wet liquids. And this comes here to what we are living now. We have the toilet cabins, correct? So what happens is that the toilet cabin actually is mixing with our urine, for example, or our poop. And sometimes it splashes back because it's very close. That's why it is actually very recommended to always use the water. Because we don't know whether actually the water in the cabin actually splashed on us or not. So it is really recommended to always use the water and not to just stick to the toilet paper. The other condition is that the najasa or the urine or the poop is exiting from a temporary exit. Like sometimes they open an exit next to the whatever, the kidney or whatever, to get the urine out from there. So that doesn't require any cleansing for the najasa. That's not something like we apply it like what we normally clean our najasa or do istinja. It is required, according to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, to have at least 3 times wiping the najasa. So I went to the toilet and I did number 2. I used the toilet paper. First time, second time, third time, the toilet paper came clean. That's done. Third time, the toilet paper came with some traces. I'm not done. I need to keep using the toilet paper if I'm using only the toilet paper until the toilet paper comes out clean. Then I am done with my istinja. So the criteria is only when you come out with the toilet paper without any traces of najasa. Istinja is always with the left hand. We never use the right hand because the right hand is for the honored things. So for eating, for drinking, for carrying the Quran, for honored things. Left hand is for istinja. We never use the right hand for istinja. Sunnah of Istenjaa. You can use stones or papers, but to use the stones, they need to be solid, not flexible. They need to be clean. They can remove the najasa. They are not harmful, and they are not respected for their honor, for their taste, or for owned by other people. So you cannot use, for example, papers with writings of Arabic language on them for istinja, for the toilet. You cannot, because the Arabic language is honored. It is the language of the Quran. Sometimes a mistake happens and people will use, for example, to cover the dining table with newspapers. And these newspapers, they will have some Arabic writing on them. That's actually not allowed, because the Arabic language is the language of the Quran. We should honor the language because it's the language of the Quran. We cannot use for istinja the poop of any animal or the bones. We cannot. The Prophet ﷺ clearly mentioned to us not to use, because the bones are the food of the jinn. So we cannot use them for istinja. Sunnah of Istenjaa is using 3 times. If you use the toilet paper first time and it came up clean, or second time came up clean, you can stop. But to follow the sunnah is to go 3 times. Sunnah of Istenjaa, not to use the right hand except for excuse. If you don't have any other option, you have a broken left hand, arm, you cannot use it, then you can use your right hand. Sunnah of Istenjaa is to try to cover the awrah. So unfortunately nowadays when we see these standing toilets everywhere, that's not allowed at all. For the one who used water to rub the hand with the soil, then use the soap. Sunnah is for the person to actually use the water, who used the water for istinja, is to rub his hand with the soil before he can wash it. But that's at that time when actually there was no soap used regularly. Nowadays we have soap, so you can just wash your hand with soap after using, for example, after istinja with water. Drying, from the sunnah of the istinja, is drying our bags, especially when we are fasting. So using the toilet paper to dry all the water that we have used for istinja, so that water does not enter inside our body, because our bags are exits, and if the water enters from there, it will break our fasting. So that's actually something that we need to take into consideration when we are fasting and we are doing istinja. We need to make sure that water does not enter our body even when we are at the toilet. Okay? For men to clean urine first, but if someone went to the toilet and had urine and poop, then it's the sunnah to clean the urine first and then to clean himself from the back. But for women, she can choose any of the ways to clean front or back first. There are some etiquettes when going to the toilet. Number one, we cannot carry things that has the name of Allah Azza wa Jal, or angels, or the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to take off his ring because it was written on it, Muhammadun Rasulullah. So he used to take it off before entering to the toilet. Some things that the scholars considered it from etiquette, to wear his shoes inside the toilet, to cover the head inside the toilet. So to wear a hat or something. To take with you the water, the stones, the toilet paper, whatever, is from the etiquette of going to the toilet. Not entering the toilet and then calling people to get you some toilet paper or get you some. It should not be done this way. To enter with the left foot and exit with the right and say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubthi wal-khaba'ith. Oh Allah, I seek refuge with you from all evil and evildoers. And when you exit, you say, Ghufranak. I seek your forgiveness. It is sunnah to sit on the left leg and stretch the right leg. It's sunnah not to talk except for a need. So inside the toilet, it is not supposed to be a place where we speak. So when I enter the toilet, I remember things and I start calling people, turn off the oven, the stove, blah, blah, blah. It's sunnah not to speak. Okay? Except if there is really a need. Other than that, it's not supposed to be. We should not stay in the toilet for more than the required time actually to do our business and leave. Otherwise, some diseases happen because of that. Because of sitting in the toilet for longer time than required to finish our business. It is sunnah to urinate, or from the etiquette that to urinate sitting, not standing. And we are speaking here especially for the men. The Prophet ﷺ, as Aisha said in the authentic hadith, whoever said that the Prophet ﷺ was urinating standing, he lied. Never the Prophet ﷺ urinated while standing. So it is sunnah actually to sit down. It is sunnah to urinate at a soft ground, not a hard one that will splash back. Okay, so the whole idea is not to urinate on tiles, but for example on soil that is actually dismantled, so you can not have that back splash. Do not urinate opposite to the wind, so the wind do not bring back the urine on you. Do not urinate in a pond, so for example a swimming pool or something. Do not urinate in a graveyard, on a grave or next to a grave. Not in pathways of people. Like the other day I was walking and in a train station, someone pointed to me, look what they did right here. Do not urinate here. So in the train station, this is the pathway of people. Our Islam, our religion is a beautiful one. Does not allow us actually to urinate except in the proper places. We cannot urinate anywhere that we want to urinate. No, it doesn't work for Muslims like this. Not in a hole, not under a tree. Why we cannot urinate under a tree? Because the tree, especially if it has fruits, the fruits will drop, and then there will be najasa, or the trees are places where people sit down under them. So looking after what people are going to need to use after that is important in our religion. So we should not actually urinate except in the proper areas. It is makruh to face the qibla or put the qibla in the back when going to the toilet. But the scholars said that's only if we are going outside, in the outdoor. Why? Because there is an authentic hadith that one of the companions saw the Prophet ﷺ from the top, actually was facing the qibla or putting the qibla in his back, but that was within the building. Because at that time, the buildings did not have ceilings. So that companion, he went on top of his building to do something, so he saw the face of the Prophet ﷺ in the toilet, and he was facing or putting the qibla in his back. So that's why the scholars said, so if it is within the buildings, then it's okay to face the qibla or put it in the back. But if it is outside, it is from the etiquettes not to. It is from the etiquettes not to look at the sky while we are in the toilet, or to look at our private parts, or to look at what exits from us, or to look at the right or the left. It is haram to urinate in the masjid, even if someone brought a container and put his... I'm not bringing this up because this happens a lot. And you know where is this the most happens? Who can tell me where this most happens? In haram. People don't want to go to the toilet, they bring with them actually bottles in order. This is haram. This cannot happen. It is haram to urinate on a grave or next to a grave. When I am in the toilet, I sneezed, I don't say Alhamdulillah. I say Alhamdulillah only in my heart. So that's for the Istenjaa and the toilet fiqh. Anyone has any question? If anyone has any question, you can write it on this. Just type this in the URL on the website place, and then put your question, and I will answer at the end. I will leave 15 minutes, so in 14 minutes I will finish, and then I will start answering the questions. Wudu, I will go over it very fast because this is something that most likely everyone is aware of, so I will just run fast. Wudu, the definition of wudu is the use of a clean water in 4 organs of the body. What 4 organs? According to a specific way identified by Islam. What 4 organs? Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned, "O you have believed, when you rise to perform prayer, wash your faces and your forearms to the elbows, and wipe your heads over your heads, and wash your feet to the ankles." These are the 4 organs. So wudu is actually to use water, clean water, in 4 organs in the specific way that the Prophet ﷺ told us about to use. Wudu ruling. What's the ruling of wudu? It's obligation for whoever needs to pray and doesn't have a wudu. So then wudu becomes obligation. For the one who wants to touch the Quran, even written verse. This is, just try to focus with me. So I have a book that has lots of writings and has some verses in the Quran, in that book. It's not a Quran book. It's just a normal book. And there are verses. If I don't have wudu, I should not actually touch the verses of the Quran. Even though that is not a Quran. If it is a Quran, it's not supposed to be touched at all. Except if I am in the state of wudu. For tawaf as well, it's an obligation to have wudu. Sometimes the wudu is sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ said, if I would not burden my ummah, I would order them to do wudu for every prayer and to do a siwak for every wudu. But he did not actually make it as an obligation on us. So it's a sunnah to have wudu for each prayer. So sometimes I have actually wudu, but the prayer came. I went and made another wudu. That's a sunnah, as the Prophet ﷺ said. I did not make the wudu because I broke my wudu, but I made the wudu because to follow the sunnah of the Prophet to make wudu at each prayer. Touching the Sharia books, fiqh books, or a book that has tafsir, for example. Can I touch a tafsir book if I don't have wudu? Yes, I can. It's a sunnah to have wudu so you are respecting these Sharia books. But if the Quran size is bigger than the tafsir size, it's considered the Quran. You should not touch, except with the state of wudu. But if the tafsir size, like sometimes you have a small size Quran page and a big page of tafsir, explanation, that's not considered the Quran, that's considered a tafsir book. So you can carry that one, touch it, but you should not, if you don't have wudu, you should not touch the actual verses, out of respect for these verses. It is sunnah to have wudu from sleeping. You woke up, as the Prophet ﷺ said, when the person sleeps, shaitan will do 3 knots on him So when he wakes up and remember Allah, one knot will be removed. When he makes wudu, one knot will be removed. When he prays 2 rak'ahs, one knot will be removed. So it's sunnah to make wudu after sleeping. Before ghusl, so if someone requires ghusl but he wants to sleep, it is sunnah actually to have wudu before you sleep. Someone needs to have ghusl but he wants to eat before taking a shower or ghusl. It is sunnah to have a wudu before eating. Because the Aisha radiallahu anha said that the Prophet ﷺ used to have wudu even on janaba when he requires ghusl before doing, for example, eating or sleeping or anything. It is sunnah to have wudu after getting angry. Why? The Prophet ﷺ once saw someone angry and he said, I know something, if he does, the anger will be removed from him. If he goes and make wudu, the anger will be removed. So the scholar said, because shaitan is from fire, wudu is from water, it will just cool him. It is sunnah to do wudu for reading Quran if you have wudu, but you won't as well. For adhan and iqama, to make wudu. After committing a sin, lie, backbiting, doing something wrong, do wudu. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, follow the sin with a good deed. It will wipe it. So it's a sunnah actually. One of the good deeds is to do wudu. After qahqaha. What's qahqaha? It's an Arabic word. It's when you say qah, 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 qah. It is sunnah actually after this qahqaha to have wudu. Because in a way the person who reaches that stage of ha 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 ha, actually he sometimes loses his control on himself because he's just in the mood of laughing. After showering a dead body, so a dead body you are showering him, it is sunnah to have wudu after that. It is sunnah to have wudu to be safe from the differences of the scholars. You went to the market and for some reason you touch a foreign lady. So what to do? If you come to Imam Abu Hanifa's opinion, you are okay. Because if it is without intention or without desire, then it should be okay. If it comes, for example, to Imam Shafi'i, Imam Shafi'i will say to you, if you touch your wife, then you need to make wudu. If it comes to Imam Malik, it says if it is, for example, with desire, without desire. Imam Shafi'i said if the touching person we will come to this, the touching person wudu will be broken, the one who was touched will not be broken. So to go out of all of these differences, if things happen, just go ahead and make wudu. Khalas, yes.
That last point, I understand it, but I don't see how it can be a sunnah.
It is, it's mustahab, let's call it. Because there is a differences even between the scholars. Whether sunnah and mustahab is the same. Some, they actually don't make them the same. So I put them in the same title, category. Mustahab. It is makruh to repeat the wudu. So I broke my wudu. I did wudu now. I want to pray Isha. But I did my wudu during the Isha time. If I do a wudu again, for no reason, that becomes israf. So I'm wasting the water. So I should not. But I did wudu for dhuhr, prayed dhuhr. Asr time came. I did wudu for Asr. Although I did not actually break my wudu, that's sunnah. I make my wudu after adhan dhuhr. And then I delayed dhuhr an hour, and then I made wudu again for dhuhr. That's not. It is makruh to do that. It is prohibited to do wudu. Sometimes it's prohibited to do wudu. When? If you are doing wudu with the stolen water. So you cannot. And even the scholars said, your wudu is not valid. If you are using an orphan water, or if you are actually, when you use the water, it might kill you. It might harm you. So it is actually, sometimes it's haram to use the water. Someone has a wound in his head. That might actually, the doctor said, 6 weeks, no water come close to this wound. Otherwise, you might actually lose your wife. It is haram to get water there, because that might cause the person actually to die. So, doing wudu, sometimes it's obligation, sometimes it's sunnah, sometimes it's makruh, sometimes it's haram. So how wudu actually comes in all of these categories. I will finish with the pillars of wudu. Wudu has sunnahs and pillars. The pillars are coming from the hadith, the verse of the Quran. Pillar number 1 is washing the face. So if you do wudu only by doing these 4 pillars, your wudu is valid. And as the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, تَوَضَّأْ كَمَا أَمَرَكَ اللَّهِ. So make wudu as Allah ordered you. So what did Allah order us? It's in the Quran. Number 1, to wash the face. All the face. Once. That's the fard. So we wash our faces how many times? 3 times. The first one is obligation. Second and third is sunnah. Okay? Washing is pouring the water until it drips. Minimum 2 drops. So I'm washing my arm. No water dripped out. That's not washing. That's wetting. So the minimum of washing is that the water goes on the organ and it drips. Minimum, the scholars said 2 drops of water coming out, that's washing. Okay? First time is obligation, second and third are sunnah. What is face? Face is what you face people with. That's why it's called face. And if we speak from up to bottom, the face starts from where the hair starts growing and ends at the bottom of the chin. That's lengthwise. We are going to speak about widthwise. So it starts from, if I have the face like this, I have the ears, I have the hair here, and here is the chin. So the start of the hair is the start of the face. And then the bottom of the chin is the end of the face. In regards to width, it's the start of the ear to the start of the ear. So from the ear here, end of the ear to the end of the ear. That's all face. What about the bald person? The one who has just all of this is bald and his hair starts from the back. What's going to happen to him? Does he need to start all the way from the back? Of course not. It's just from the forehead, whatever is regularly the start. Where they used to have hair. Yes. Lips, nose, eyebrows, eyelash, mustache, cheek hair, light beard, all needs to be, like for example Dawood, all need to be washed. If the beard is thick, then only the apparent part. So wash only the apparent part. And then the other thing is that from the sunnah is takhleel, which is putting the hand underneath the beard. What for those whose beards are growing, mashallah, my mechanic in Jordan, he used to have his beard literally to his belt. And he was a mechanic. Sometimes he will be putting his head inside the engine and it will stuck. So he needs to cut part of it in order to But he was amazing guy, subhanallah. So the scholars differed whether actually when you wash your face, you need to wash the whole beard again or not. So the majority said yes, you have to wash even whatever is coming out. So number one is washing the face. Number two is washing the hands to the elbows, and the elbows are included. We wash the fingers. Sometimes there is a mistake. Then people actually, they put the arm under the tab and wash from here to here. Knowing that at the beginning I washed already my hands. No, that's wrong. The wudu is invalid. If you just pour the water from here to here for washing, the wudu is invalid. The washing needs to be from here, the tip of the fingers, to the end of the elbow. Okay, so the elbow is included. Wash the fingers sagging skin. You know the fingers sagging skin? This skin? This one? At the joints. The scholars said sometimes because people, they have them actually thick and they have lots of things that might hide there. So for those old people to wash these parts. Remove what prevents water from contacting the nails. So any nail polish or anything we cannot have. Nowadays, I came, one person asked me about some nail polish that actually it is not preventing the water from coming to the nail. So no problems. And this is actually what the companions, the Ummahat al-Mu'mineen, and when they used to use the henna. So henna, actually, when you put them on the nails, it can actually color the nails. So that's not a problem. It's been absorbed by the nail. So the nail is the nail, and you can feel it. There is no cover that is preventing the water from coming. So we need to remove anything. Some people, they are painters. Their hand becomes paint. They need to remove the paint in order to have their wudu correct. Some people, they have 6 fingers. Have you seen some people having 6 fingers? I've seen. They need to wash the finger number 6. So look how the scholars did not leave anything for us. Every single detail actually What if someone had his arm cut from here? How can he make wudu? Wash the part from this side, whatever is left, just a small portion, just wash it in order to be like imitating washing the arm. Moving the ring, if I'm wearing a ring, so it's better to move it so the water comes underneath it. So number 1, washing the face. Number 2, washing the arms or the hands or the arms. Number 3, wiping the head. And this is where scholars actually differed. What portion of the head and so on. Wiping, as a definition, is moving the wet hand on the part. You don't need to pour water here. It's only wiping. So wet hand on the part. Head is the place where normal hair will grow. So you cannot just wipe here, because this is the forehead. The head is where the hair usually grows. Abu Hanifa said wiping at least 1/4 of the head. Why did he say that? Because wiping must be with the hand. And if you put your hand on your head, that's covering almost 1/4 of the head. So that's why he came up with the 1/4. While Imam Ahmad and Malik said all the head must be wiped. Because Allah Azza wa Jal said, wipe your heads. So that's the whole head. Whereas Imam Shafi'i said, part of the head, even one hair is enough. Just to do like this with your finger and just do like this, and you can be safe with wiping the head. So everyone is relying on some understanding. So whatever can be called wiping is considered wiping. Okay? Number 4 is washing the feet, ankles, until the ankles. And ankles are the apparent bones from both sides of the feet. they are included in the washing. We cannot just wipe. Shi'as, they wipe. We cannot wipe. It's invalid. And we need to target between the toes. And especially between the toes with the smallest finger to target actually while making wudu between them. So if I did my wudu like this, meaning that if I only washed these 4 things, wipe the head and wash the other things, then my wudu is complete, even if it's one time, and that will be a full wudu. But we will come to how the Prophet ﷺ used to make wudu after, inshallah, in next week, speaking about all the sunnahs of making wudu. MashaAllah. Can women who are learning Quran continue reading, memorizing on their menses? There are different opinions. Which is the strongest? If you ask me, the strongest is not to. If you ask me, based on what I learned from the scholars, and I remember this from one of the major scholars, which is Dr. Fadl Abbas from Jordan, and he based that on a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. When Aisha radiallahu anha wanted to give the Prophet ﷺ something, so she was not, because he's in the masjid and her room was next to the masjid. So he asked her to give him something. So she was not able. He said, stretch your arm. Your menses is not in your arm. So that's when the scholar said, okay. So meaning that the understanding actually is that that part is considered janaba or not pure. So that's why they said, so the Quran will be applied, because Allah said it will not be touched except by those who are pure. Still the other opinion is there. And scholars mention that she can without touching it, in order not to forget it, or if she is teaching or learning, she still can. That opinion is there. If you are comfortable to follow that opinion, what I recommend everyone, like what we spoke at the beginning, go to each of the opinions, look at their evidence, and then you decide your own. I decided my own. I don't want to use that. So if I don't have wudu, or the woman does not have full tahara, then she should not. That's my opinion. Again, there is the other opinion which is valid. You need to look for it yourself. Is vanilla essence allowed? Usually has a percentage of alcohol, but upon cooking the alcohol content evaporates. It's not intoxicating. As we said in the last lesson, the intoxication is the reason for being haram or being in najasa. So if you say that it's not intoxicating, you can go with that opinion. If you know that there is nothing left from the alcohol, then you can go with that and go ahead. If you want to stay safe, you can stay safe by avoiding, as the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever avoids the gray areas, he cleansed his religion. So if you want to go ahead with that, you can. And there is no intoxication, it's okay, and you can go ahead. Okay? So let the thing be clear. Can you close please the door? That I'm giving you 2 options here. The fiqh opinion and the wara opinion. So the fiqh opinion is you can, if it's not intoxicating and there is nothing left. As you said, when it's boiling, it will evaporate. So nothing will be left, most likely. Whether there is something left or not, we'll leave it for that. You mentioned respecting Arabic script. Can you wear clothing with Arabic writing? New fashion trends lately have seen abayas with Arabic writing all over. Well, I will answer this question next week, inshallah. Can you use your phone in the toilet? You are going to talk. We said don't talk. Or you want to message? Okay, can I ask you a question? When you message, is it going to be written on you or it's not written on you? Is it recorded? it's recorded. So the whole idea for not speaking inside the toilet is because when you say Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuthi wal khaba'ith, you enter the toilet, angels outside. Don't enter the toilet. The moment you do an act to be written, that's the moment you are in trouble. Okay? So you can text, but it's going to be like you talk. So any act that is going to be written inside the toilet will be considered like talking.
You spend more time when you do that.
And you spend more than required time. We said spend only the time required for doing the business. Is there a difference of opinion among scholars for holding the Quran without wudu? I think no. No, for the wudu. The only opinion which came from the verse of the Quran in the surah that speaks إنه من سليمان وإنه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألا تعلوا علي وأتوني مسلمين, which is the verse when Sulaiman sent to Balqis the letter that contained actually Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, which is a verse. That's why the scholars said, okay, the non-Muslims are going to touch that. Are the non-Muslims allowed or not to carry? Or the Prophet ﷺ, when he used to send some letters to the kings and so on. So as far as I know, there is no scholar that allowed to touch the Quran without wudu. Yes?
Extending upon this about with digital, like a mobile phone or...
Yeah, we said touching the actual words is not allowed. So if you want, for example, to use your phone to read without wudu, you can read without wudu. That's not a problem. But when you have it on your phone, you know you are going to swap it. Okay? Try to swap from a place where there is no writing of the Quran. So you don't touch the actual words of the Quran. So that's the whole idea. Can you remember Allah in the state of janaba? Of course. Of course you can. Remember Allah as much as you can. And Aisha radiallahu anha used to say that the Prophet ﷺ used to remember Allah Azza wa Jal in my, when they were together while she was on janaba, he used to remember Allah Azza wa Jal in areas where you think, oh, why should we remember Allah Azza wa Jal in these areas? The Prophet ﷺ was remembering Allah on all states. And we should remember Allah Azza wa Jal on all states. It was mentioned that making wudu again within the same salah prayer, what is the ruling if when you are doing wudu and was interrupted, you forgot which part you are up to? That's the next lesson. I did not pass to that stage, which is I'm doing wudu, I was interrupted by a phone call. Can I actually continue or not? Is it a distance that is interrupting the wudu? I need to go back from the beginning if I forgot where to start. So we'll cover this next week, inshallah. Can you make wudu without taking off your hijab when outside? Given that you make wudu at home before putting the hijab, like wiping on the socks? Of course, no. It has to be wudu. But what I recommend, if you are forced, for example, to make wudu while you are outside and you are wearing hijab and you cannot except do wudu while wearing the hijab, then make the water come and actually soak your hijab to reach the area between the hair and the forehead. Do you understand what I'm saying? So make the skin, make the water reaches the skin from on top of the hijab. Okay? And then the whole idea for us is to drip. So you will be having dripping, but at the same time, you reach the areas under the hijab. But you cannot do, some what they do is actually they put their hands under the hijab when it comes to when they are outside. So they just squeeze your hands under the hijab and continue doing it. Yes?
I heard before about the masha al-amama, and this can be...
Is this a amama? That's a different story. Does it have the same like criteria, the same shape, so you can take it as analogy, which is qiyas? That's the story. So none actually has spoken as the hijab is compared to amama. Okay. What is the ruling of men to braid their hair? Braid their hair? Oh, the Prophet ﷺ used to have 2 braids. And he entered Mecca with the 2 braids touching his shoulders in the conquer of Mecca. Okay? But if you want to do braids, you have to cover them. Because the sunnah is making braids. The sunnah is lengthening the hair. But the sunnah is well to cover the hair. So the Prophet ﷺ used to wear amama or to cover them. So cover it. Up. I work in a medical environment. If I have najis on my clothes for my patients, blood, pus or urine from catheters, can I just put on a abaya over my spoiled work clothes, or do I have to change all? Okay, why don't you put actually the abaya on top of you while working, and then when everything comes onto this abaya, and then you just take it off, put it aside, and then pray with whatever clothes you have inside that abaya. So it's better to have it this way. If you did not have any choice, and you did not have the choice to clean it or anything, and you fear that the time is going to pass without you being able to pray before cleaning your clothes, then pray with your clothes, and then go back home, make wudu or wear clothes that are clean, and repeat the prayer. So pray on time for the seriousness of the prayer. Do we take wudu before washing a dead body if the deceased person is a non-Muslim? No, it's always after, but it's sunnah at the same time. So doing the washing of the deceased body is not requirement for making ghusl or making wudu. It's sunnah to have that.
I just want to add up a question on the catheter thing, but now is a person who is, I remember in one of your points there you said if the passage of urine is temporary.
Yeah, but she's saying that it's coming on her clothes.
I know this is for the work, but I'm saying for the patient who is on catheter permanently.
Yeah, that's not for him. It's not a problem.
He will have to clean it.
No, he doesn't need to clean
He
it
doesn't need to.
because it's not a normal exit of the urine.
It's not normal. Okay.
So, and this is
Although
something
it's going
medical.
to be permanent from the time.
Yeah, it's not. It's medical. It has nothing to do with the normal exits of the urine. So that's why you don't need to. Okay. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.